My parents told my sister I'd get nothing, so I made my move. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. You'll get nothing. My mother said it like she was reading the weather, not erasing her son from his own family. We were sitting in Attorney Patel's office, the kind with fake leather chairs and framed diplomas meant to calm you down. My dad, Frank, kept his arms folded, jaw working like he was chewing nails. Chloe sat beside them in a cream sweater, hands folded politely, eyes bright with that calm confidence she only wore when she knew she'd already won. I'm Evan, 31. I fix what breaks. Most days that's cars at the community college garage, teaching students how to stop ignoring the check engine light until smoke is coming out. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. It pays my rent on a one-bedroom and keeps my credit clean. I thought that mattered in our family. I was wrong. Patel slid a stapled packet toward me. This is the updated estate plan, he said. Your parents want you to review it. I flipped the first page and saw it in black and white. Revocable Living Trust. First Amendment. Dated November 2nd, 2025. Under distribution, Chloe's name was everywhere. The house. The accounts. Even the cedar chest my grandma left my mom. I laughed once, because my brain didn't have any other sound ready. Is this a joke? Donna didn't look up. Chloe needs stability, Evan. Frank finally spoke, voice flat. You always land on your feet. She doesn't. Chloe touched my mother's wrist like she was soothing a nervous pet. Don't make this ugly, she whispered, loud enough for me to hear. My ears rang. All I could see were my hands, grease stains under the nails from that morning's lab, resting on Patel's desk like evidence of why I didn't belong in this room. Patel cleared his throat. There's also a matter of a guarantee on a line of credit, he said carefully. Mr. Evan Whitmore, your name appears on. On what? I snapped, looking up. Patel's expression didn't change, but his eyes did, like he'd just watched a trapdoor open beneath me. My phone buzzed at the same time, a credit alert lighting the screen in red. If you'd met us at church or at Chloe's birthday dinners, you'd think we were close. Frank liked to say he raised 2 independent kids. Donna smiled like the word independent was a medal she'd pinned on us herself. But in our house, independence was just a nicer way to say Evan doesn't need anything. When I was 12, Chloe got a full bedroom makeover because she's growing into herself. I got a new pillow. When she made varsity cheer, my parents threw a party. When I made honor roll, Frank nodded once and asked if I'd finally stop wasting time on tools. He wanted a lawyer in the family. Chloe wanted attention. I wanted quiet. The pattern didn't change when we became adults. Chloe drifted through jobs, marketing, real estate, consulting, always landing back at my parents' house with a new plan and a new emergency. Donna would lower her voice and say, Don't judge her, Evan. She's sensitive. Frank would hand her checks like they were bandages. Me? I paid my own way. I learned to sleep through the sound of my own pride cracking. 2 weeks before that meeting at Patel's office, I stopped by my parents' place to drop off Frank's truck. I'd fixed the brakes for free, like I always did, because it was easier than hearing him complain. Chloe was there, lounging at the kitchen island, scrolling on her phone like she owned the counter. Frank looked at my hands and snorted. Still teaching kids how to change oil, he said. Must be nice living small. I felt my face heat up. It's a good job. People need cars. Chloe didn't even look up. He likes being needed, she said, like it was a diagnosis. Donna laughed, actually laughed, and then caught herself. Evan, honey, don't be so sensitive. That word again. As I left, Donna followed me to the door and lowered her voice. Your dad's been stressed, she said. So if Chloe asks for help, just cooperate, okay? It keeps the peace. Chloe called after me, sweet as syrup. Don't forget to sign the birthday card for Dad. I'd signed that card, not knowing I'd be signing something else soon. The first time they told me I'd get nothing wasn't at Patel's office. That was just the formal version, printed and stapled. The real cut happened at my parents' dining table on October 21st, 2025, the night Donna insisted we talk like adults. Chloe had cooked, which should have been my first clue. She didn't cook unless there was an audience. The table was set with cloth napkins and those heavy wine glasses my mom only used for holidays. Frank sat at the head like a judge. Chloe sat close to him, shoulder angled toward Donna, creating a little triangle I wasn't part of. Donna smiled too hard. Evan, we're updating things, she said. Planning. Planning what? I asked, though my stomach already knew. Frank tapped the table once. The house stays with Chloe, he said. She'll manage it. I stared at him. Manage it? It's your house. And someday it won't be, he snapped. Then his voice softened, fake calm. You won't get anything, Evan. That's the decision. Chloe lifted her glass like she was toasting. It's not personal, she said. You're fine. Fine, I repeated. So I'm written out because I'm fine? Donna reached for my hand, stopped short, and folded her fingers into her lap. Your sister has needs, she said. You've always been strong. Frank leaned forward. You chose that little life. Don't punish us for accepting it. I felt my throat close. So that's it. The house, the savings, grandma's things, everything? Chloe's smile didn't waver. You'll understand when you're older. I'm 31, I said, voice cracking. Frank's eyes went cold. Then act like it. Stop expecting rewards for existing. I pushed my chair back, so hard it scraped. Donna flinched like I'd slapped her. I remember standing in my parents' hallway, staring at family photos that suddenly looked like props, and thinking, they've been rehearsing this without me. Outside, my hands shook so badly I dropped my keys twice. Before I even started my car, Chloe texted a link. Just sign, Evan. The link Chloe sent wasn't a greeting card. It was a DocuSign packet titled Disclaimer of Beneficial Interest. A polite way of asking me to agree, digitally, conveniently, that I deserved nothing and would never contest it. I called Donna. Why am I being asked to sign away something you already say I don't have? She sighed like I was exhausting. It's paperwork, Evan. It makes everything simpler. For who? For your father, she said. He hates conflict. I almost laughed. Frank loved conflict when he was winning. I didn't sign. I wrote back. I'm not comfortable. I want my own attorney to review. Within 5 minutes, Chloe called, voice sugary. Oh my God, you're not going to do this, she said. Do what? Read before I sign. She lowered her voice. You always have to make yourself the victim. I'm literally being cut out, I said, and heard myself shaking. You're being released, she corrected. So stop acting like a charity case. 2 days later, Frank held court at a family friend's barbecue. I'd gone because Donna begged. Just show up, it means a lot. And because some stupid part of me still wanted to be seen. Someone asked what I did. Before I could answer, Frank clapped a hand on my shoulder and said, loud enough for the patio to hear, he teaches oil changes at the community college. Keeps busy. A few people chuckled. Chloe smiled into her drink. I felt my face burn, but I forced a grin, because making a scene was exactly what they wanted from me. That night, I drove home to find an envelope taped to my apartment door. Inside was my parents' spare key, the one they'd given me after Dad's first heart scare, and a note in Donna's handwriting. Please don't come by unannounced anymore. Call first. The next morning I tried the garage keypad anyway, just to prove I still existed. The code I'd known for 10 years flashed invalid, while Chloe's SUV sat in the driveway like a guard dog. Then my phone pinged with a notification. I'd been removed from the family group chat. Getting cut off didn't look like a movie scene. Nobody slammed a door and declared me dead. It was quieter than that, like being deleted from a document and watching the cursor move on. I stopped going to Sunday dinner. I stopped checking in. When I texted Donna, I got one-word replies. Busy. Later. When I called Frank, it went to voicemail. Chloe blocked me outright. The silence did what they wanted. It made me doubt my own memories. So I poured myself into work. I picked up an extra lab section on Wednesdays. I fixed my neighbor's alternator for groceries. I paid down my student loan until the balance finally dropped under 5 figures, a tiny victory nobody clapped for. One of my students, a kid who'd been failing because his dad called him useless, passed his brake certification and hugged me after class. I drove home that night feeling, for the first time in months, like my life was mine. Then, on January 9th, 2026, my phone buzzed with a credit monitoring alert. New account. Inquiry. I assumed it was a mistake. I hadn't applied for anything. My credit was boring on purpose. 2 days later, a plain white envelope showed up. No logo. Just my name and address, typed. Inside was a notice of default from Riverline Bank for a business line of credit opened December 18, 2025. Amount, $35,000. Past due, for $1,812. It said I was a personal guarantor. It listed my social security number, partially masked, but enough to make my stomach drop. I reread it 5 times, waiting for the punchline to appear. There was no punchline. There was a final paragraph in bold. Failure to cure would pursue all legal remedies, including wage garnishment. I called the bank. The clerk asked me to confirm my identity, then said, "Yes, Mr. Whitmore, you're on the guarantee." I whispered, "That's impossible." She answered, like she'd said it 100 times, "Then you need to dispute it and file a fraud report." My hands were shaking again, only this time it wasn't grief. The last page showed a scanned signature that looked like mine, almost. I didn't drive straight to my parents' house. Old Evan would've, storming in, demanding answers, giving them the exact chaos they could later blame on me. New Evan sat on his couch for an hour with that default notice in his lap, breathing like I was trying to keep my ribs from splintering. Then I started treating it like a broken engine. Diagnose first, rage later. Riverline Bank wouldn't email me documents without account holder authorization, which was a joke since I apparently authorized everything. But the clerk did confirm 2 things over the phone. The line was tied to an entity called C.W. Events LLC, and the signing appointment had happened in person with a notary on December 18, 2025. C.W. Events. Chloe's initials. Her consulting obsession with event planning. My stomach turned. I called Donna. The phone rang until the last second, then clicked. "Evan." "Mom," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "Did Chloe open something in my name?" Silence. Then a long exhale. "What are you talking about?" "A bank says I guaranteed a loan for Chloe." Donna's tone sharpened. "You need to be very careful with accusations." "Careful," I barked. "They're threatening to garnish my wages." She dropped her voice, the way she did when she wanted to sound reasonable while steering the whole room. "Chloe has been under stress. Your father too. Don't make this worse." "So you know." "I know you're overreacting," she said. "Call your father." I did. Frank finally answered on the 3rd try. "I'm busy," he snapped. "Dad, did you put my name on something?" He didn't deny it. He didn't confirm it either. He said, "Chloe is handling the paperwork. That's all you need to know." My blood went cold. "So I'm written out of the will, but you'll put me on the hook for debt?" Frank's voice hardened. "Watch your tone. We're family." After I hung up, I pulled up the DocuSign email Chloe had sent months ago. Same sender address. Same review and sign button. My cursor hovered over it, and I realized something terrifying. If they'd tried to get me to sign a disclaimer, they'd probably tried to get me to sign the guarantee too. I opened my credit report and saw one more detail that made my throat close. The inquiry address matched my parents' house exactly. On January 13th, I took a personal day and drove to Riverline's downtown branch. I wore my work jacket because it made me feel armored, like the grease smell could protect me from rich people paperwork. At the counter I said, "I need copies of any documents with my name on them." The clerk's smile froze. "We can't give account details," she said automatically. "I'm not asking for Chloe's balance," I said, leaning in. "I'm asking why my wages might get garnished." That got me a manager in a glass office. He slid a folder across the desk with a practiced expression that screamed, "Please don't yell." Inside was a personal guarantee form, my printed name, my address, an old one from when I'd briefly lived with my parents after college, and a signature that looked like mine if you squinted. The notary section was worse. It listed the location as a shipping store 5 minutes from my parents' house. Date, December 18th, 2025. Time, 3:42 p.m. I was teaching a lab that afternoon. I could prove it. There were attendance sheets with my initials and a security camera in the shop bay. The manager pointed at a line I hadn't noticed. "It also references collateral," he said. "A deed of trust." My stomach dropped. "Collateral on what?" He shrugged. "That would be filed with the county." So I drove straight to the county records office, took a number, and waited under fluorescent lights that made everyone look guilty. When it was my turn, I asked for anything recorded under my parents' address between November 2025 and January 2026. The clerk printed a summary. My eyes skimmed down the list and locked onto one entry. Deed of Trust, Riverline Bank, recorded November 19th, 2025, amount $185,000. I stared at the date. November 19th was the day Frank had called me at 6 a.m. because his chest hurt. The day I'd driven him to the ER myself. I requested the scanned copy, hands sweating. When it loaded on the public terminal, I saw Frank's signature at the bottom, and it looked wrong, like someone had practiced it. I swallowed hard, because I remembered exactly where Frank was at 3 p.m. that day. He was in a hospital bed, hooked to monitors, and he wasn't holding a pen. I sat in my car outside the county building with the printed deed of trust on my lap, hands numb. The paper smelled like toner and bad decisions. I kept staring at Frank's signature, like if I looked long enough it would confess. What would you do if your parents were victims, and also your betrayers? I called the hospital and asked for Frank's admission record from November 19th, 2025. Not details, just proof of time. The receptionist told me they could provide a simple verification letter with dates if I submitted a request. I drove to my campus office, pulled the lab roster from December 18th, 2025, and took a photo of the page showing my name as instructor. I started a folder on my laptop titled Evidence because calling it family felt like a lie. Then I did the thing I'd avoided. I pulled up the county scan again and read every line. Borrowers, Frank Whitmore and Donna Whitmore. Lender, Riverline Bank. Amount, $185,000. Trustee, some generic company. And tucked into the legal description was a reference to something called the Whitmore Family Trust. That stopped me. The trust wasn't just an inheritance plan anymore. It was connected to the bank loan. I searched the records again, this time for Whitmore Family Trust. Another document came up, Certification of Trust, filed November 3rd, 2025. The day after the trust amendment Patel showed me. I paid for the copy and read the first paragraph 3 times. It named Frank and Donna as trustees and listed a successor trustee who would assume full authority upon incapacity. Successor trustee, Chloe Whitmore. So this wasn't just my parents choosing Chloe. This was my parents handing Chloe the steering wheel and then pretending they were still driving. Suddenly Donna's lines made sense. It keeps the peace. Frank's too. Chloe is handling the paperwork. The disinheritance wasn't the punchline. It was the cover story. If I had no stake, I had no reason to ask questions, no standing to demand documents, no excuse to show up. And if Riverline came knocking, guess whose name was already on the hook? The subject line read, Certificate of Completion, Personal Guarantee, Evan Whitmore. That night, I didn't sleep. I built a timeline instead. October 21st, 2025, you'll get nothing at the dining table. November 3rd, 2025, Certification of Trust filed. Successor Trustee, Chloe. November 19th, 2025, Deed of Trust recorded for $185,000. Frank in the ER. December 18th, 2025, Personal Guarantee signed at 3:42 p.m., Me Teaching Lab. January 9th, 2026, Credit Alert. January 11th, 2026, Default Notice arrives. I took screenshots of everything. The county record numbers, the PDF stamps, the DocuSign emails. I downloaded the DocuSign audit trail from the completion certificate, IP address, device type, timestamps. The signer device was an iPhone. I don't own an iPhone. Chloe does. At 2 a.m., I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus and set a fraud alert. I filed a dispute with Riverline and requested their identity theft packet. When the website asked, "Have you contacted law enforcement?" my finger hovered over an O for a long time. Because law enforcement meant handcuffs. And handcuffs meant my parents' faces on the evening news, Frank's pride evaporating in public, Donna crying about family betrayal. It also meant Chloe might finally face consequences, and my parents might finally stop protecting her. The moral math made me sick. In the morning, I called Frank again. This time I didn't argue. I just asked questions and let silence do the work. "Dad, why is there a bank lien on the house?" I said. He snapped, "We're handling it." "Why am I on a guarantee?" A pause. Then, quieter. "Because Chloe said it would be temporary." "Did you sign anything on November 19th? Another pause. Longer. "Stop digging," he said, but his voice wobbled. After we hung up, a voicemail from Donna came through. "Evan, please," she said, breathy and scared. "Just don't embarrass your father." There it was, not denial. Fear. So I made a plan that didn't require screaming. I requested Frank's hospital verification letter. I printed my class roster. I put everything in a folder and wrote one sentence on the cover, "Do not lie." Then I emailed Attorney Patel, polite, short, deadly calm. and asked for a meeting with all parties present. Within 10 minutes, Chloe texted me from a number she hadn't blocked. "You are not doing this, Evan," she wrote. Frank's birthday dinner was on January 16th. I wasn't invited. I found out because Donna sent a text by accident, meant for Chloe, about picking up a cake. Then she followed it with, "You can come if you can be respectful." Respectful. Translation, quiet. I went anyway, because part of my plan was seeing how far they'd go to protect Chloe when the truth got close. Their dining room looked the same as always: family photos, polished silverware, roast chicken. But I felt like a stranger in a room that knew my name. Chloe greeted me at the door with a hug that didn't touch her eyes. "We were worried you'd bail," she said sweetly. "That would be dramatic." Frank barely looked at me. Donna kept refilling my water like if she kept my mouth busy, I wouldn't talk. Halfway through dinner, Chloe set her phone face down and sighed. "Evan's been spiraling," she told them, like I wasn't there. "He thinks we're attacking him." I set my fork down. "I think someone used my identity to guarantee your loan," I said. Donna's face drained of color. Frank's jaw tightened. Chloe laughed softly. "Oh my God, you really came to ruin Dad's birthday." "What would you do if a bank threatened to garnish your wages?" I asked, voice rising despite myself. Frank slammed his palm on the table. "Enough," he snapped. "You are not accusing your sister in my house." "In your house," I repeated. "The one with the $185,000 deed of trust." Donna flinched. Chloe's eyes narrowed. Frank's voice dropped. "We don't discuss finances at dinner." "Convenient," I said. Chloe reached across the table and took Donna's hand. "Mom, breathe," she murmured, then looked at me. "Evan, you're tired. Sign the disclaimer, and this all goes away." "Goes away for who?" I asked. "For everyone," she said. "You'll get a clean slate. We'll handle the bank." I almost heard myself agreeing. A clean slate sounded like sleep. Donna's eyes begged me. Frank's stare commanded me. Chloe's smile dared me. Then Frank said the quiet part out loud. "If you keep pushing, I'll make sure you get less than nothing," he growled. Chloe leaned in and whispered, "Check your mailbox tomorrow morning." The next morning my mailbox held exactly what Chloe promised: a thick envelope, overnight, no return address. Inside was a clean copy of the Riverline personal guarantee with my signature highlighted in yellow. On the last page, someone had written in pen, "Stop, or we will." No name, no explanation, just a threat that made my skin crawl because it was vague on purpose. That was the moment I stopped trying to protect their feelings. I drove to campus, printed my lab schedule and the security log that showed my keycard entry at 3:18 p.m. on December 18th, 2025, and exit at 5:07 p.m. I picked up the hospital verification letter that confirmed Frank had been admitted and under observation the afternoon of November 19th, 2025. I made copies, 3 sets, and put them in plastic sleeves like I was building a case, because I was. Then I called Attorney Patel's office and asked for a meeting. "I need the trust amendment explained," I said, "and I need to address identity fraud and potential forgery." The receptionist went quiet, then scheduled me for Monday at 10 a.m. Chloe texted again, "You're humiliating, Mom." I replied, "Bring your iPhone." Donna called me, crying. "Evan, please," she said. "Your father is sick. We can fix this privately." I kept my voice low. "If it's private, why is my name on a bank guarantee?" Frank got on the line, breathing hard like anger was a workout. "You want money so bad," he snarled. "Fine. I'll give you $5,000. You sign what Chloe sends, and you leave us alone." My hands tightened around the phone. "This isn't about money," I said. "It's about you letting her destroy me." He spat. "You're doing it to yourself." So I set the trap where Chloe couldn't rewrite the story. I asked Patel, politely, in writing, to invite a Riverline representative to verify the documents. I also asked that Chloe attend as successor trustee. Monday morning, I walked into Patel's building with my folder and my knees shaking. She said, "Mr. Whitmore, I'm Riverline's fraud investigator, and we have questions." We sat in Patel's conference room, and for once Chloe didn't look relaxed. Her knee bounced under the table, and her smile kept flickering on and off like a bad bulb. Patel opened his laptop. "Before we discuss the trust," he said, "Riverline has concerns about signatures and authorization." The fraud investigator slid a folder forward. "We reviewed the DocuSign audit trail," she said. "The guarantee was completed from an iPhone on a residential Wi-Fi network, not Mr. Whitmore's usual devices. Chloe scoffed. That proves nothing. It supports what we already have, the investigator replied, and turned the screen. It showed timestamps, 3:41 to 3:42 p.m., December 18, 2025, and a location ping in my parents' neighborhood. I slid my papers across the table. Campus keycard entry at 3:18, I said. Exit at 5:07. I was teaching. Frank shifted, face darkening. This is a misunderstanding. The investigator didn't flinch. We also flagged the notary. The same notary appears on the deed of trust recorded November 19, 2025, for $185,000. Patel opened the county skin I'd sent. His eyes stopped on Frank's signature. Mr. Whitmore, he asked my dad, were you physically present to sign this deed of trust? Frank opened his mouth, then shut it. Donna's hands started shaking in her lap. I said it. He was in the ER that afternoon. Chloe leaned forward, voice sharp. Evan, stop. You're twisting things. The investigator pulled out one more document. There's also a limited power of attorney, dated November 20th, 2025, naming Chloe Whitmore as agent for financial matters. Donna made a small sound, half sob, half gasp. Chloe's smile turned brittle. Mom and Dad wanted help, she said. They were overwhelmed. I handled it. Frank snapped at her, not me. You said it was temporary. You said it would protect the house. Chloe's mask finally slid off. I did protect it, she hissed. From him. She pointed at me. If Evan had any claim, he'd drag you through court. He'd ruin you. I kept my voice low. You used my identity, I said. You didn't protect them. You sacrificed me. Patel looked at my mother, calm and deadly. Donna, he asked, did you even sign this power of attorney? After the meeting, nobody hugged. Nobody apologized. We filed out of Patel's office like survivors of a crash, each insisting the other caused it. In the lobby, the fraud investigator handed me a checklist. To remove you from the guarantee, she said, we need an identity theft affidavit and, ideally, a police report. We'll freeze activity in the meantime. Freeze activity. Translation, Chloe's money faucet was to turn off. Donna grabbed my sleeve. Evan, please, she whispered, eyes wet. We can fix this without cops. I stared at her. You were okay with the bank coming after me, I said. You called that peace. Frank stood stiffly, like he could posture his way out of consequences. You're enjoying this, he muttered at me. I wasn't. My stomach felt like it was filled with nails. But I also wasn't backing down. Chloe tried a different angle, cold, controlled. If you file a report, she said, you'll destroy Mom and Dad. You'll be the reason the whole family falls apart. Patel stepped between us, voice firm. Ms. Whitmore, your brother has the right to protect himself. And I need to be clear. Given these facts, I may have to withdraw from representing your parents and advise independent counsel. Donna looked like she might faint. I went straight from that building to the police station because my hands were already shaking and I knew if I went home first, guilt would talk me out of it. I filed an identity theft report. I signed an affidavit stating I didn't authorize the guarantee. The officer asked if I suspected who did it. My throat tightened, and I answered anyway. At work, I started slipping. I forgot a student's name. I snapped at a kid for stripping a bolt. My department chair pulled me aside and said, gently, Evan, you look exhausted. Are you okay? I lied. Just family stuff. Family stuff was now a case number in a folder. That evening, Riverline emailed me. Account restricted pending investigation. 5 minutes later, Donna called sobbing. Frank left a message with nothing but breathing. And Chloe didn't call at all. She left a voicemail at 11:48 p.m., voice low and smiling. Enjoy your win, she said. You're going to regret this. Then she added one word that landed like a slap. Traitor. Once the police report existed, the story stopped being something my family could handle. It became something other people, banks, investigators, attorneys, could read. That terrified Donna more than losing me ever had. Riverline sent follow-up requests, copies of my ID, proof of employment, the class roster, the hospital verification letter. I complied like it was homework, because in a way it was. The assignment was save your own life. Frank avoided me for days. When he finally called, his voice sounded older. Chloe said she was helping. He admitted, the words scraping out of him. She said you'd never know. That's the problem, I said. You chose never know over never hurt. Donna asked to meet at a coffee shop, neutral territory where she couldn't hide behind her kitchen. She slid a new document across the table, revocation of power of attorney, dated January 24th, 2026. Her signature was real. Shaky, but real. Patel says we need to change the trust too, she whispered. He says Chloe can't be successor trustee anymore. I watched her face. For the first time, she looked less like an organizer of peace and more like a woman realizing peace had been purchased with her son. I'll help, I said, and saw relief wash over her. Then I raised my hand. But not like before. I wrote my conditions on a napkin because I needed them in ink, not feelings. Everything in writing. No surprise paperwork. No access to my identity, ever again. A neutral trustee or fiduciary, not Chloe. Therapy. For me, and honestly for all of you. Donna flinched at the last one, but she nodded. I started therapy the next week. It wasn't dramatic. It was me learning that anger could be clean and boundaries could be love without surrender. I slept better once my credit was frozen and my phone wasn't buzzing every hour. Chloe didn't text anymore. She posted vague quotes about betrayal and family snakes. Frank stopped liking her posts. And then, one evening, Donna called and her voice was small. Evan, she said, what do you want from us now? Part 15. I didn't answer Donna right away. I stared at the steam curling from my coffee and realized how twisted my definition of love had been. In my family, love meant obedience. Love meant swallowing humiliation so other people could keep smiling. I finally said, I want the truth, and I want you to stop choosing the easiest story. A week later, Patel emailed a short update. Riverline had accepted my affidavit and documentation as credible and was moving to remove me from the guarantee while pursuing the actual signer. He couldn't give details, but the wording was enough. My name was no longer the bank's target. The weight in my chest loosened in a way I didn't know was possible. Frank asked to meet in person. We sat on a bench outside my apartment complex because I wouldn't invite him inside yet. He didn't apologize in a grand speech. He said, quietly, I thought I was protecting the family. Then he added, even quieter, I didn't protect you. That was the closest he'd ever come to, I'm sorry. Donna showed me the updated trust documents, this time prepared with an independent review and a neutral successor trustee listed, not Chloe. The distribution still wasn't perfect, and I didn't pretend a stack of paper could rewrite decades. But it was honest, and it stopped being a weapon. Chloe never admitted it. She tried to bargain, tried to blame, tried to turn my parents against me. But once the bank froze things and the power of attorney was revoked, her control slipped. Without the steering wheel, she finally had to sit in the passenger seat like everyone else.